Saturday.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us with the Abundant Life Church of Christ. I'm Rhonda Jackson Smith, and you are here today for Earth, Heaven, and Beyond. Today, our special guests are Minister Jaquan Ball and Mr. Craig Johnson. Thank you so much for joining us today, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to share just a little bit about the bio of Minister Jaquan and Craig, and I'll go ahead and start with Minister Jaquan Ball. So Jaquan Ball is a native of Richmond, Virginia, and lives in Chesterfield County with his family. In 2018, he became certified as a personal trainer with the National College of Exercise Professionals, that's NCEP, and after getting his personal training certification, he became a MOSA certified instructor for Blast and Power. In 2022, he became an ordained minister and believes that his ministry is through fitness. Currently, Jaquan is working at the American Family Fitness Center, where he instructs fusion classes in Mechanicsville, Virginia. His athletes look forward to coming to his class to hear his encouraging words and to have fun. And just as a little side note, the ladies in his class created T-shirts and say, what does it say, Craig?
It says if Jaquan says it's fun,
You better run.
Yes,
That's right. If
brought that
Jaquan
up.
says
I
it's
was gonna
fun,
bring it up.
you better run. So if they are watching this, they will get a chuckle out of that.
Yes.
And we also have Craig Johnson here. And Craig shares that he grew up in the church, but really didn't begin to develop his relationship with Christ until he was in his 30s. And what he says is, hint, hint, he was super hard-headed. Once he gave his life to Christ and began to follow and practice, Christ gave him back something that he thought he'd lost and he would never achieve again: a healthy body, a positive vision of himself, and not only one that he can see in the mirror, but a man that was reborn inside. His testimony on how he started his running journey is his most pivotal moment, but our God is bigger than any of the moments, and his ministry through fitness will serve to prove exactly that. And he does have a favorite scripture that he shared, which is John 4:23. And Craig has lots and lots of different certifications in health and fitness. He is also an NCEP certified personal trainer. He's a nutrition certified coach. I didn't know that. He's a land to water and swim coach. He's a certified fitness instructor, and you are as well, Jaquan, a certified fitness instructor, as well as a MOSA instructor. Craig also teaches cycle, and I've heard folks make mention of your cycle classes,
Yes.
that you are a bit of a madman whenever you've had to sub for classes. And you've got a really interesting story. There's some things that fitness accomplishments. You completed your first marathon in 2021.
Yes.
You've completed 3 half marathons, 3 sprint triathlons, and your big picture goal is to finish the full Ironman before age 50. So
Yes.
how young are you now?
I am 45 right now. I'll be 46 in February. So
Okay.
I've got a couple of years.
4 years off. All
Yeah,
right.
I
And I
got
know
a
there's
couple
a
years.
big goal that you're working towards this year. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, I actually have. Well, I have a marathon coming up this weekend. Saturday is actually like a preparation for a December run, which is an ultra marathon, 31.2 miles, which is my first. Anything over a marathon is considered ultra marathon. So that's the first step you can take. And I bit it off, I think 6 months ago or so, and now like facing that kind of time coming up. So I'm ready to go, but excited. Thank you for noticing that.
Yes, oh my
Awesome.
gosh. So we invited you guys here today because we're talking about health and fitness. And I remember the very first time that I heard someone talk about the 3 pillars of health, and it was actually you, Craig, that was talking to me about that. And I remember you saying the 3 pillars of health are sleep, exercise, and fitness.
Yes.
And as certified personal trainers, we can support folks on one piece of it, but the other 2 pieces folks really need to kind of learn and
Absolutely.
kind of grow in. We wanted to talk just a little bit about those 3 different pillars, and I wanted to start with sleep, which
yes.
seems like the simplest and easiest of things. Do you guys sleep well?
I try to. No, I mean, I also have 2 little ones, so that's probably another reason why
Disclaimer.
I don't sleep well.
Yep.
I have a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old, so that kind of gives you a little idea why. But I mean, luckily I have a sleep tracker on my watch, and so it tells me even like if I wake up in the middle of the night and stuff. So it gives me roughly about 6 hours of sleep at night. So I get sleep out 6 hours of sleep. I wish I can get close to 7 or 8, but that's usually for the weekend though. So most time because I get up for work and stuff.
And I guess because you're in that active parenting stage, some of that is just kind of how it rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I try. I think I generally get about 6 or 7 hours. How you running on sleep, Craig?
Well, if I said I got 6 hours consistently, I'd probably be a little bit off. So I probably get a little bit less than that. And I know it's not necessarily good, but it's because of the classes I teach. I have different schedules that I have to keep, some late nights, some early mornings. Like, as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning I'll be up around 5:30 or 4 o'clock to be at work at 5:30. I think what's important in that is I might not sleep, say, consecutively for more than 5 or 6 hours, but I am the guy that will take a nap during the middle of the day.
Yes.
I'm very good at naps. So napping, I think, is a very good point to, like, is a part of sleeping too. So when your body is at rest and can do some recovering, that is sleep. So not just at night, but
Yeah.
naps too.
Yep.
So.
Well, there were some really interesting facts about sleep that I learned as a result of us preparing for this. That it boosts your immune system. It improves your memory. It helps with weight management. I mean, I think I'd heard that before. It helps you to live longer. Didn't know that. It prevents diabetes. It supports healthy growth and development. It helps your mood and mental well-being. And I guess as a dad, moms and dads that don't get good sleep aren't happy moms and dads. And it keeps your heart healthy.
Yes.
So some interesting facts about sleep deprivation. You get more cravings for sweet and salty and starchy food. I never knew that before. Higher levels of that hunger hormone is called ghrelin. There are lower levels of appetite control, that hormone called leptin. You're going to be 50% higher for obesity if you get less than 5 hours of sleep nightly. You're less active. Your less active immunity protectors, called natural killer cells, aren't as active. You're going to be nearly 3 times the risk for type 2 diabetes. 36% increase for colorectal cancer. Increased risk of high blood pressure, 3 times more likely to catch a cold, 48% increase in developing heart disease. That was all really interesting to me. I would have some of that I would have connected to sleep, but some of that I wouldn't have necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, the way to look at that too is also too is understanding that sleep is also like a reset of your body, in the sense of like you're doing all these things. Kind of think of like as your phone. If when something's going wrong with it, you want to just shut it off so it can reset itself. Same thing with like sleeping. You want to like shut off. So if you're not resetting your stuff, that's why you have those cravings or other illnesses that's going on in your body. So just we need to shut off. Like we had like we were made that way to shut off.
Right.
Like people just want to stay up all the time. Like when I was younger, it was easy to do things.
Yeah.
You know, like I can go for 2 hours sleep, but as you get older, you're doing more things. You have more things on your mind. You need to like get away from that stuff for a little bit and get that rest.
Even for trying to build muscle, I remember someone saying that's when that muscle gets built. If you can work and lift all you want to, but if you're not getting that proper rest, then you're not giving that body time to heal and repair and to actually build those muscles.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of those critical pillars.
And if you would, just for a second, I think something that was a common denominator in what you really talked about and all of those things that people don't necessarily focus on because it's more biology is the chemical reactions that our body starts to have and starts to develop because we're not sleeping. Say things like cortisol, which is like a hormone or something that's created when we're really stressed. So if our body's in a really stressed, like fight or flight type of system, it's not going to want to rest. You're not going to go into those deep sleeps and things like that. And I think that is just a chain reaction of over time your body breaking down and those things happening. That's why all those diseases open up. So I think if anything, if you would look into, say, how your body works chemistry wise, like those things, better understanding that will help you better understand why you should be sleeping. Because when you see like, wow, I could, stop forgetting my keys in the morning if I simply like calmed down and went to bed a little bit earlier, then I wouldn't be on 2 wheels coming into work and things like that. That's I think those are the habits we need to create.
Yeah. And so there are three things that are included in healthy sleep. It's how much sleep you get, your sleep quality, or that interrupted and refreshed sleep, and that consistent sleep schedule. So it isn't just sleeping, it's all of those, three things kind of combined.
Yeah.
So question for you guys, what are some things that you guys do to kind of help yourselves to have a restful sleep? You mentioned there's a sleep app that you have.
Yes. So it was one of them things I was like, I need to get better sleep with having my kids and stuff. So one of the things I was looked up on my phone, there's a thing on iPhones where it shuts off your phone at night. So yeah, so it cuts off. But most people are like, why would you do that? What if emergency calls? If my wife calls or my parents call, it comes through.
Yeah.
But anybody else, like my friends, any kind of notification, it cuts that off because it's like I can just deal with that tomorrow. It's not like something I got to do with right now. So it will go off, like, I think I have it set up for 10 o'clock, kind of like get me ready for bed and stuff. So like 15 minutes till, you can move that to, it says, hey, start getting ready for bed. So if you got like nightly routine or something, you start doing that stuff. But then also doing that, it's also, I make sure I have my watch on at night because it would also track like my breathing and stuff and how I'm sleeping at night. So if I'm tossing and turning a lot, or if you wake up and you're like, I went to bed at 10 and I woke up at 6, and that's like, what, 6 or 7 hours or so? And it's like, why do I feel like I'm still not sleeping? And if you look at that tracker, it's like you woke up like, which is not really good, you woke up like, 14, 15 times a night, which really shouldn't be up that much.
Right.
But it shows you when you wake up and stuff. And that's also counting the turnovers and stuff that you think it's not that big of a deal, but that is a wake up because you are paying attention to things that you're hearing and stuff. If you have a TV on, that's also going to not help you as you roll over because you hear something, now you're focused on that. My thing is, when I'm listening for is kids crying.
Right. But you bring up a really good point, Jaquan, and that is, once you've done all the things that you know to do, right? Cut the TV off, disarm your phone so you won't hear the whirring and the buzzing, having that sleep routine. If you're still not getting that sound sleep, that could be and that's consistently happening, that could be an indicator you might need to go seek out some additional help to figure out exactly what's going on. Yeah. Do you have an what is it called? iWatch?
iWatch or Apple Watch or whatever it's called. Yeah. I have that. I have Apple stuff, so yes. So it's just easy to connect, but that doesn't have to mean that you have to get an Apple Watch or something with Apple. Samsung has the same thing. There's other iOS things. I would just say do your research. I would tell anybody like that's getting kind of equipment for helping you out is to do your research and do like your reviews and stuff. I am a big advocate for that because I what may work for me may not work for you.
Exactly.
And so it's just like you got to figure out what works for you because you may not need that sleep thing, or you may need something else because you have sleep apnea and you have a machine you're using, so that may be something else that you need for that and everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely do your research. Find out there's apps for everything.
There are.
So
there
you
are.
can probably find an app for something.
And for those that are not particular on technology, because not all of us, we're talking about being native to technology before the show started. You can actually download papers that you can just actually track and chart what your quality of sleep is like from day to day. And there's something about being able to collect that data and having that visual, right? So you can see how many hours did I sleep, what was my sleep like, was it good, poor, fair, there's nothing can replace that visual, which is what you get when you get access to that technology. Do you use anything like that, Craig?
Well, I do. I use the monitor I'm wearing here too, and it's more like heart rate variability. So it'll track my strain or how much stress I put on myself during the day, say with any kind of workout or just what we're doing now is actually considered some sort of strain versus how much I recover or how much sleep I get. So it's the device I wear is to help me stop from overtraining. So on those days where when I wake up and my heart rate variability is low and I don't feel very good, I don't necessarily always understand, like maybe I should run, maybe I shouldn't, but if I look at that scale and it says that I'm in the red, if I have like a 10-mile run, maybe I'll do a shorter run than that. I won't just cut a workout out, but I'll tone back a little bit until my body can kind of catch up and do those things that it needs to do to repair. That stops injury in any kind of athletes. And it doesn't even matter if you're not necessarily like very active as far as running or working out and things like that. If you're going to work every day and you're noticing like you're not recovering, an extra nap or something like that, you're going to perform better. You're going to be more aware
Right.
for people around you, stuff like that.
Yep.
So, absolutely.
Yep. So we wanted just to talk a little bit about this because we always want folks that are watching this to have kind of that call to action, right? To stop, to reflect. Might there be things that any of us can do that can improve our sleep? What are some simple steps that we could take? Maybe it's having that bedtime routine.
Yeah.
Maybe it's being able to go outside, getting that daylight. You should be able to get about 30 minutes of sunlight a day. You were talking about working out. One of the things that they say is you don't want to work out too late because it will impede that ability to kind of wind down. So, doing a lot of those things. So just, what's one thing that our audience might be able to do to help themselves to be able to have better sleep, right? Maybe it is making some changes, lifestyle changes. Maybe it's incorporating things. Sometimes being able to read before bed can really help. I know what my daughter said, "Oh my gosh, Mom, you'd be so proud of me. I read a book before I went to bed and it put me right to sleep." And absolutely, reading really, it helps to quiet the mind, cutting off the technology. Those are all helpful things. And I guess after that, the question would be just kind of that call to action, right? We don't just want to be folks that talk about stuff because we can have lots of information, but we don't just want information. We want to have revelation, but then we also want to act on it. So, just having information that you sit on and do nothing about does you no good. No. So we all want to be able to act on that. So we wanted to talk just a little bit about transitioning from sleep to exercise. And that's a big one. So I guess the big question is, for you guys, when people come to you, and people come to you obviously looking to improve their health and their fitness, where do you start with them? What's the first start point?
For me, a start point is always to see what are they actually able to do. In the sense of that, I think that when people say that, "Oh, I want to exercise," like they feel like because they feel like "Oh, we're gonna make you run a mile," and it's just like, no, I can't get you to run a mile if you can't even like walk into your building at work or something. Like I got to figure out what's going on there and everything else. So it's more of a conversation. I usually talk to them about like what is their actual active life like. More so to sign up like because their age difference and everything else. From who they are, their active life, it just helps me out to understand because do you have any kind of disabilities in the sense of like you have some surgery on something? What is your active life like in the sense of like do you walk around a lot or have you been to the gym before or anything like that? Because it's just like all those things are factors in the sense of like of me training you in the sense of like giving you exercises. Because, like I said, you can take a simple exercise as like I can do like say, hey, give me 25 jumping jacks, and you think like, oh, everybody can do that until you hear somebody say, I just had knee surgery, and I can't jump. And then it's like, okay, what? That's when you have to think like, hey, what's the next thing I can get for you to do? And it's like, okay, can you do side steps? Oh, I can do that. Well, we can still do jumping jacks without jumping. So that it's more of a conversation I would have somebody to see where their level is because not everybody's level is the same. Like, me and Craig was talking, we talked about this. He already talked about it. We ran marathons. I don't expect somebody to come with me and run a marathon. And as much as it's the same thing as me, is that there's a lot of training behind that. And I mean, when I was training for a marathon, the first week that we trained, it's like, you got to run 6 miles. If you can't walk a mile, why would you train somebody that much? So it's like I had to train before the training. And that's the same thing. It's like the same thing as I would tell somebody when you come work out like that. Like, I need to get you there. You can't say that I just want to lose 10 pounds and don't understand what's going to help you get to lose that 10 pounds.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is being able to assess that baseline. What's our start point?
Yeah.
And what limitations do you have?
Correct.
And I guess the other thing I think I'm hearing you say is have some realistic expectations for yourself.
Yes, that is the key to like sticking with exercising more than anything. Probably a lot of things you have in goals is have realistic expectations. Because if you're thinking about like just in general like working out like Craig mentioned and we have done, if you're thinking about running a marathon, I didn't think about waking up one day to run a marathon. I was literally what happened. I don't know if you're going to bring this up or not or whatever. We'll talk about it when we get there. But my journey to getting into running and exercising it was because I was at college and I didn't gain my freshman 15 at my freshman year. It didn't happen to my junior year. And then I came home and people were like, "Oh, you're getting bigger." And I'm like, "Oh, that is not good." Like, let me figure this out. So I started running, and then it was like I was running like a quarter of a mile, and then it like came to half a mile, and then it came a full mile. And from that, it was like I'm running a mile, I'm losing the weight and everything. That was great. But then when you train, you start realizing I can do a little bit more. And so that mile came to like 2 miles and 3 miles. And I was like, hold up, what's a 5K? Yeah. And then I did my first 5K. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. And then I was like, okay, that came easy. Okay, what's next? Yeah. It's like, okay, 10K. Okay, then 10K, what's next? Or half a marathon. Okay, did that. What's next? A full marathon. I did those. And then after I did the full marathon, I was kind of like, I'm done. I applaud you for doing the ultra.
Leave the rest to Craig with his ultra stuff.
I'm not so sure.
Never heard of it.
I'm not so sure I tried to do it the right time.
Yeah, I applaud you that because I mean, when you're training with people, that's where you hear people talk about that. But it's having that real idea of what you want to do. If it's just walking, saying that I want to, like, one of the things I use is that if you're a parent or a grandparent and you're just like, I just want to be able to play with my kids without getting winded. Okay, we can do that. That's not going to take much, but we can work on some things. We can walk. We can do some things with that. We can do a few little exercises to build some muscles and stuff. But we don't have to go and do too much where you can't now even work out because I can't lift my kids because my arms are tired or my legs are tired. You know, so it's realizing what you actually can do and sticking to those goals. And then if you do get comfortable with certain things, then we'll look furthermore to say, okay, do we want to go more or are you okay with this?
So just kind of having those incremental steps.
Yeah.
Steps. Did you want to add anything to that, Craig?
Well, I think Jaquan and I end up at the same kind of, it sounds like you talk to people a lot, and I do the same thing because I really want to know, but more than like where you're at physically, I think the first thing I attack is people's why. Like, why are you actually sitting here? And this is a conversation that's not really easy because I don't think people really even realize their why until you get so far into your journey. Like, it might start out, my doctor told me to come here. You know what I mean? But it's your doctor told you to come because you're having a health problem, and that health problem started because of maybe an eating situation or something else outside of that. And where did that go? So I think as we dive back and peel back those layers of uncovering, like, why you're sitting here now, what made you make that choice, and the importance for that for me is because everybody comes to a point in their journey where there's a doubt and where there's a pause and where there's a want to turn back. There's a fear, you know what I mean? You haven't done it before. Like, you can push as far. I think we've all had good goals and good like weight loss stories. So like, speaking from experience, there comes a part where like, wow, I've never done any of this before. I don't know where this is going to turn out. Like, everybody that's in my corner right now is even doubting me at a second. You know what I mean? Like, I always say, like, if somebody that cares about you doesn't necessarily think what you're doing to your health is kind of crazy, you know what I mean? Then, you know, you're not doing it right. But at the same time, when those people get in your ear, you need to fall back on your basic reason of why you're doing this. Is that for yourself? And I like to center people on the reason why you should be really doing any of this is for yourself. Because nobody else is going to take care of you better than you. Just like in an airplane, that mask falls down, it's not for your kids first, it's for you first. So for you to be an active, healthy person and take care of those people around you, it has to start with you. So like, center on your why and then stick your flag in that. And every time something tries to pull you away, like, go right back to that. Just like God is your center for everything, like, let that reason come back and draw from everything and make every decision about that from that same place. You know, don't get off of that. So I think that once you have your core reason of why you're doing this, so like, my reason why was because I didn't want to lose my life. You know, so I just now when I get a little bit like into myself and into my head and I'm this and I'm that, you know what I mean? Like, I have a picture in my office still of a place where I was really big, and it's like, I draw myself back into that person, not to feel sorry for myself, but to remember, like, that's why you did this. It wasn't because there was people that looked at you or that thought you were something, or because you got a medal for doing this. It was because you were fighting for your life, and like that fight will continue if you remember that. So that's, I mean, we get to the same place.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a different starting point.
Yeah.
The why.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
certainly resonates with me. And I know for me, I'm really, and I remember I was watching something on TV, and an older woman was talking about goals that you make for yourself, and she was just saying you should always write it down, write it in pen and paper, and post it somewhere. And it resonates with me because it just makes me think, you write out your vision and you make it plain, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what I was just thinking.
I stick that on my computer, on my monitor. I have little post-its. It drives my husband crazy. He's like, what is all this stuff all over my desk? Now we have separate desks, but just being able to keep that ever before me, just kind of as a reminder, this is what I'm working towards. This is what I'm working towards. This is why. And it's all different kinds of things. It's not just about health, right?
Yeah.
So
That's it.
I love that, starting with the why.
Yeah.
So of course, when you start with that, you mentioned the consistency. That becomes a challenge. So what are some of the things that you found that really help with kind of maintaining that consistency?
For me, it was, and talking to myself or to others, is the consistency is always talked about, from talking to them about, like, not every day is going to be a great day when you work out. Like, some days it's going to be tough. I remember one day I was training for a marathon, and I just like, I don't know how I can do this today. I was like, it's only 8 miles. We just ran 13 last week, and I can't do 8 this week. And it's just like, what's going on? And then you have another day when it's like, oh, we just ran 12 miles. And I remember one time training, it was like I was passing everybody. And even one of the guys that I think we all know was running with me. And actually, he left before we started, and I caught up with him and then passed him, and he called me at the end, and he was like, you were on something today. Like, what's going on? I was just like, I don't know. It's just, today was a good day. Like,
Here's your day.
so understand that that it's not going to be always the easiest thing to do. And then there's going to be days that are going to feel great. It's going to help you, like, okay, yeah, this is a bad day, but I'm going to still work out or get something in. I'm going to get some kind of movement in. But there's gonna be other days too, so it's just don't beat yourself up too much, because that's what a lot of people do. Like, oh, I missed a day, and then it's like it turns into 2 days because I missed yesterday, so I don't feel like doing it today, and then it turns into a week, and then it turns into a month. It's if you miss a day, it's okay. Like, I understand, like, you're trying to do 5 days a week, which, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. That's why I recommend it. But if you're like, I want to do this 5 times, and you miss Monday, don't miss Tuesday. Just understand, like, I still gotta do the next day. So don't
give yourself grace and get back up.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Can I add just a little bit to that? Something that came to my mind is something a friend taught me in those situations. Right? Say you missed that Monday. The phrase was 2 lies and a truth is usually how you fall back into that hole. So the enemy is always going to give you 2 lies or 2 truths and a lie. I'm sorry, 2 truths and a lie. So the truth is, yes, you did miss Monday. Okay. So the other truth is you woke up late. That's why you missed. It's your fault that you missed that Monday. So the one lie is that now you're going to have a bad day and miss the rest of the week. So you're using those 2 truths and turning it into something negative. You know what I mean? As far as, like, I missed Monday, I woke up late, I can't do this. You know what I mean? And that's the one that stops you. That lie is the one that stops you. But if you take those 2 truths and you dismiss the lie, now I know the truths are there. Now where's that lie coming? Because it's coming. When you see it, you just smack that right down and you replace it with your own truth.
Right.
I'm gonna get it back tomorrow, or I'm going back later on today, or if I have to stay up late and just do push-ups tonight, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna win that battle back, but I'm not gonna let that one negative enter in and take over the rest. So you're exactly on it. I love that. I love that.
And I guess that's also where you just kind of have to rely back on encouraging yourself, going back to your why. Sometimes you have to go, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? And you shared a little bit about your story. I call it the origin story. Craig, would you mind sharing your origin story?
Absolutely. So like I said, I was very hard-headed. I went through college. I went through some of my military career unsaved and kind of just out there doing what any person does, you know what I mean, when you really don't know or have a purpose. I was just out there looking for that purpose. I was previously married. I am still married now, but I've been since remarried, and I went through a very hard time in my life through that divorce. We had a child. I'm a very family-oriented person. The last thing I really wanted to do was separate from my son or my wife at the time or anything like that. And I took it very, very hard. Albeit I was out of state. I was in Hawaii, 3,000, 6,000 miles away from closest family or anything like that. With family begging me to come home because I had nowhere to go. I didn't want to leave my family, so I decided to stay there and try to tough it out. So I was homeless for, I would say, almost a year, sleeping in my car. I mean, if you're going to be homeless, I'll be honest with you, Hawaii is probably the place you want
Not
to be.
too bad. Not too bad.
And I'm not making light of it or joke of it, but you've got to learn to be able to look at yourself and say, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't that bad, though. You know what I mean? Because I had a place to shower. I mean, if I look back on it, God had me in this situation, and this is where I think I really found, because like I said, I had a church foundation. My mom, my parents exactly brought me up in church, so I had those seeds planted. But when I got really far off, and I was lost, when I say I was lost, I don't want to go through all of the difference, but I was out there. But I found I had always been athletic. I'd been through college, you know what I mean? I left college, went into the military, ... So now I have nothing left. I have no money. I only have a car to sleep in. All I have left was my athletic ability, right? And I was getting overweight. So I'm just going to start. I have nothing to do with my time. I'm just going to start running around Hawaii. I ran around Diamond Head. Next thing you know, I'm doing 10-mile runs. And all the time, I didn't realize what I was doing, but my mom had always like ingrained a couple of Bible verses in me. He that is in me, or greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. No weapon against me shall prosper. Those kind of things. And there was like 3 of them, and I would just run around for hours. And this was months on end that I did this, and just chant those in my head. Didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but I was building my spirit up. From where I was like broken, I was building myself up back to a whole person. And like within a couple of months of just doing around, I found where I could help somebody being like a handyman. Next thing you know, I started my own business, doing handyman type of stuff. And I really look back to, I learned something in the military is when you are at your worst, or when you hit your situation where, where you're really in it, you fall back to your basic kind of fundamental understanding. Mine, I was an athlete, and that's all I knew how to do. So the only way I could dig myself out of the hole was putting myself into that situation running. And now I look back on that and I see how I build myself up. And it wasn't those runs that actually did it. It was the fact that I had nothing, and I took that run, or that medium of running, and I built faith into myself from that. I said, I can do this, just like you were saying a minute ago. That's why I got like kind of really happy about it, because it's like, I did 3 miles, I can do 5, I can do 10. And that running turned into, I can get a job. You know what I mean? I can survive, I can live, I can go back home now. I'm not embarrassed of who I am, I'm proud of who I am. Look what I just did, that kind of thing. So to me, that was fitness. Fitness isn't about, that's why I say it's always about like your why. Fitness to me wasn't about like my muscles at that point. It was about like my life, my heart, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why I always came back to heart training, because when I realized like what I did to myself is I took a broken heart and I mended it. You know what I mean? I brought it right back to life. So nowadays when I look at fitness, I just think it doesn't have to be in the gym. It just has to be movement and consistent. The best exercise is the exercise that you'll do over and over and over again.
Functional movement.
No matter what it is. Yes, ma'am. So like, that's my story, and that's why I'm so like passionate about where I am in fitness, is because it won't just save your life, it'll save somebody else's. Through like saving yours, somebody else will see that, somebody else will know that. Now I found a way to actually reach out, and like you said, this is your, like everybody has a pulpit, like in the fitness industry is mine, like 100%. So.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned something that you don't necessarily have to have a gym. So for folks that are watching that, maybe they're a little intimidated, gym is not necessarily where they want to start, they don't want to make that commitment, what are some small things that they can do right now that can that can be built upon?
You want to start?
Either one of you, both of you.
I'll start off. The easiest thing you can really do is just start to walk. Movement, and a full body movement like walking is really just going to help you start to burn off and produce the type of chemical reaction that you need to start burning fat. Once you start burning that fat, your body metabolism is going to start to. So what we need is just movement. If it's not like, hey, my knees hurt, I have like knee replacements. Try to find somewhere where, if even if you're sitting down, moving. So find a way that is safe for you to move and stick with it. And start with, if you're say having respiratory problems, start with a short time, 5 minutes. Do that for a week, and then increase to 7 minutes, and then small, like progressive overloads. So whatever it is, do it consistently 2 to 3 days a week. If it's walking, if it's jogging, if it's just getting up and moving around your house, like sitting up and down off of your couch, it's squats. I mean, it doesn't seem like you're doing anything.
Going
Do
up and
that
down
for
the
5
stairs.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, anything that you can find, but just try to do it consistent, something that you can measure. Can I walk from my seat to my mailbox? That took me 30 seconds. Tomorrow it'll take me 25. You know what I mean? And you're doing that. Just small measurable goals, anything that you can do.
Yeah.
Build your confidence. You know what I mean? Don't start off too big, like that's way too big. You said like a marathon, your first run was like 6 miles, and like at that first run, 6 miles sounded like a league.
A lot.
By the end of your marathon training, you're like, 6 miles, really? That's all we have to do today?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a good thing. So that's where you have to start off. Start off small, start off accomplishable, and build yourself up in that fact that you can do whatever it is that you're in front of you. You made a really good point about that earlier, and it's that, like, do something that, find what you can do and do that. And
Yes.
then build on that base.
Correct.
So that would be my advice on how to start out in home or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree with everything that Craig just said. And also just to add on to that, it's also like walking is great in the sense of also like not just, you don't have to walk just like around the neighborhood or just the mailbox, but I have told some of my athletes in the class, like, hey, they're like, what can I do when I'm at home? And I'm like, doing commercial breaks, just walk around your house. Most people have a little area they can walk around or something, or like you said, get up off the couch. Like you sit up and get down on the couch, it's squats. Like if you don't think about that, so just try to do that without lifting yourself off of something else. But also too is that, like if you're going to the grocery store or going to work or going to church, try to park far away. That little bit of extra walk is also good too. Like I do
My
it
wife
all the
watching
time.
this?
That little bit of walk is also good too. So that's what, like, yes, definitely walk. Also, Craig also mentioned something too that I would say, yes, the best exercise is one that you want to continue to do over and over again. So, in the sense of saying that, is that I remember talking to a guy, another talk I had, and he came to me afterwards. He was like, well, what if I just play basketball? Is that good exercise? I'm like, that's great. And he's like, but I'm 50 years old. I'm not doing what these young guys doing. They even call me the old guy. Like, hey, OG, you want to come play basketball? He's like, nah, I just want to shoot around. I'm like, that's still movement, and it's something you want to do. So that's even more exciting for you to get up and do it. So if it is just like playing basketball, like you're just shooting around and stuff, chasing the ball around, going outside to play with your kids, I'll bring it up again because that's something very active. Because if you ever been around kids, they are very active and you're trying to keep up with them. Playing pickleball, going to the pool, walking in the pool is great resistant workouts. So like, yes, if you want to do exercise that it may not seem like it's the greatest thing that you be like, oh, I want to, I'll use basketball again. Oh, I can't play basketball like NBA. You're not trying to play basketball like NBA or even college, even high school, maybe not even middle school. You know what I'm saying? You just want to get active and doing something, and it's something that you are excited to doing. That's the biggest thing. It's like, what excites you to get that workout in? Like, for me, it was running because I can clear my mind. Like, that was one of the things that I loved about running. It was definitely a conversation that I can have with God.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you can't do when you're running sometimes, because you get out of breath, you can't talk as much. So now you have to listen to God.
Right.
I like it.
So you like, and especially if it's a long one, it's like, I can't tell you, I told you everything I can, God. He's like, okay, now be quiet.
Right.
I'll talk for you now. You listen. So it's doing something that you really want to do. I mean, exercise, like, we can tell you do push-ups, we can tell you do lunges and different bends and different things like that. That's good for functional training. We'll get to that. But if you want to start somewhere where you are excited doing.
So what do you love doing?
Yeah.
Stuff that you love and enjoy, yeah.
Yeah.
And some different things that we just started, my family and I started doing stuff like kayaking. My dad and I went to play pickleball today
Oh wow.
Yeah.
for the first time.
Mhm.
And I kept telling him about it because I figured he would enjoy it because and those folks, and it's a lot of seniors out there,
Yeah.
and they
Mhm.
take their pickleball
Oh, they
very
are
seriously.
Serious.
You better not play.
Yeah.
You better not come out on that field.
Touch the ball in the kitchen. I didn't know.
Oh
what
my
that
gosh,
meant.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
If you are not
were getting
cooking,
beat
don't
up.
come in the kitchen. Yeah.
I have
they
no idea what
sayings.
y'all
There's no
talking
food
about.
out here. I was like, what's going on? I don't understand.
These are the rules of the game. So yeah, just finding stuff, and it seems like it's doing stuff that you love. Sometimes it can be, stuff that you do by yourself. For some folks, if you are a social person, it's finding those social groups, right? Running and walking in pairs or teams, the group sports, the basketball, soccer.
Yeah. And I would say also on that too, like I know that it is kind of scary in the sense of like when it's a group activity, to be like, let me step into this, but I don't know the people here that's playing basketball. But I believe that you need to try it. You try things to see where it's at. And there's a lot of things that I would say that I would tell people, do things you love. You will build a community around you. Like we work at the gym, and we understand that a lot of people that come to our class, it made it start off with one person, and then they brought somebody else, and they brought somebody else, and now they have a community that they didn't even know each other before all of this, and now they're calling each other,
Number
telling,
one supporters.
yeah,
Yes.
they have their whole
accountability partners, but they are also
Oh,
supporting each
100%.
other in other areas of life, not just
Yeah.
about fitness, right?
Group
Yeah.
checks and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think if somebody's dog passes or something in some of the groups that we have,
Yeah.
you have to turn your phone off because just like one person after another for like an hour will just
Yeah.
keep going. And I love
Yeah.
that kind of support. It's a beautiful thing. You're exactly right.
yeah.
You're exactly right.
All right. So the holiday time is coming up.
Correct.
And that tends to be a time when, folks get busy with other things, and those are things that get neglected, our health. What are some simple tips that you guys can think of that you share with folks on how to stay on track?
We talking about just eating wise
We
or
haven't
just
even gotten
working
to
out?
food yet.
Okay.
Because food is next. Yes. Food
Well,
is next.
exercise wise, I would say holidays are always kind of a little crazy because timing of the gym and everything else, which crazy, but it'd be 1 year since I had my surgery that I had. Like I just got
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Right, oh my
That was
gosh.
crazy. So just a short little story. Last year it was Thanksgiving Day, and I was having some. So this is another thing too that I would tell people: please go see doctors when you need to see doctors. I did go see my doctor. It's just that they thought it was just my diverticulitis. She was just acting up again, but they gave me some antibiotics. But I went back to the Thanksgiving Day. I went back in because I was like, I'm still feeling the pain. And then that's when they came in. They was like, no, you have ruptured your colon. We got to give you surgery. And so that was a year almost now, which is crazy. But yeah.
And you had a really quick recovery, incidentally. Like, I wasn't expecting you to be back for a while. I thought,
Yeah. I think that's because I was active, even though I thought it was gonna be even faster. But that's another thing too, is like giving yourself that grace period to understand. My wife was like, "Why do you think you're gonna be back?" I'm like, "I work out." I'm like, she's like, "Still, why did you think you're gonna?"
on my shirt.
Yeah,
Those
exactly.
rules don't apply to me.
Yeah, she's like, just give yourself time. But yeah, I mean, the gym is probably like the thing that, because I think if you're used to going to a gym or something, the timing throws everything off, and then like if the holidays are coming up, it's like I gotta travel somewhere or whatnot, and it's just, I mean, as simple as just like I said, we're walking, but also too, it's just if you're traveling somewhere or you're going to do something somewhere else, or you don't have that time, it's just trying to find the other things you can do. I've heard of people, and you can always look this up. Like, let's say, for example, like we're here in Richmond, but I need to travel because my wife is from Florida. I got to travel to Florida for the week of Christmas. What I would do is say, hey, what activities are going on in Florida?
Okay.
And if I'm playing basketball or something or taking a run, hey, this group is running this morning. You can email them saying, hey, I'm going to be there for this week. A lot of people are like, okay, that's fine. We're glad to have you out and stuff. So you can always look for other activities in the areas of where you're traveling to. But also just simplify things, or in a sense of like, if you are doing something that's, I lift weights all the time. Not me. I'm just saying if you lift weights all the time, like, can you take resistant bands with you and do that in the hotel or at home. That way you don't lose. You're not gonna lose everything, but it's like I still need to get this workout in. Okay, let's do resistant bands. Instead of I can't get the 40 or 50 pound weights I used to do with chest press or something like that, but I can do some resistant bands and do some push ups with that and stuff, which gives me something.
And there's something psychological, I think, about sticking with the routine,
Mm-hmm.
even if the routine has to be modified, right?
Yes.
Even if it could, because what I'm finding myself doing more is just having to do walks and walking through the neighborhood. And I have lots of hills in my subdivision, is what I've learned, and that's a really good walk. My father and I take those hills, and he can get winded sometimes. So you could simplify, but just because you feel like, okay, I've accomplished something, so it doesn't feel like the two truths and a lie. It doesn't feel like it's a wash, right? Because it's true. Once you have kind of gotten out of the routine, it can be hard to get back in.
Yeah.
It really can be. Did you want to add anything, Craig?
Yeah, I will say give yourself a break. 100%. I don't know. Even like I have a high tempo. I train a lot. I always have a race or something that I'm training for, planning for. But at the end of the day, I'm a personal trainer in Richmond, Virginia. I'm not an Olympic athlete. You know what I mean? I'm not getting paid, hopefully, anytime soon to do any of stuff like that. So if you can, like my best advice was plan in like some deload into your holiday season. Like put it into your plan that you're going to take a break, so that way you don't feel bad about
Right.
it. Or let's keep it simple, just like Jaquan was saying here and you were saying. And like my favorite thing to do, especially when I'm traveling, is I'll pick 5 exercises, body weight exercises. And then you can turn those 5 exercises into a 5-minute workout, a 10-minute workout, a 15-minute workout, all within like the little confined space of like a small gym or an apartment or some room that you just have like a little bit of space. And then you can get that 5-10 minutes, because I'll be honest as I can. I can take 10 minutes and absolutely leave myself flat on the floor, and if I work hard enough. So you can get good work in and feel like you've accomplished something, and then go back to your business. Have fun with your family. Like I wouldn't let the fitness kind of thing hold you hostage to like I can't enjoy my family, because that's what we do all this for.
Right.
Is so we can enjoy those times, and so we can be present with our families. And like every now and then, like I don't eat meat usually, like all the time. I'm not a vegetarian, but I don't eat meat. But like when Christmas comes around, like, hey, you're guaranteed. I'm fried chickens everywhere. I'm taking it. Like there's nothing I'll turn down. And it's funny because like it seems like everybody in my family is married to somebody from a different country. So we've got like African foods, we got Jamaican foods. Like I'm not turning none of it down. I'll be honest with you. Why would you do that? Exactly. Why would you? Exactly. So enjoy yourself, have fun, and then don't hold yourself too serious about those small goals, because at the end of the day, if you eat a little bit extra, it's not good. An extra day of eating is not going to ruin your fitness. You know what I mean? Like a month or 2 months or 3 months of like bad eating is going to do that kind of stuff to you. So give yourself a break. Don't take it so seriously.
And you just answered my next question, is what to do if you get off track. Sounds like you just give yourself grace and get back up again.
Just get right back on it, and like realize that those little turnoffs, it's just like life. Like, so if you made a mistake at work, would you quit your job?
Absolutely not.
Like I definitely, and I make them every day, so I probably wouldn't have a job if I did that. But like take that same type of attitude. Like I made a mistake. Let yourself go with it. If your children make a mistake, you know what I mean? Are you going to hold that over their head? Like, do you think if you miss a meal or miss a workout, do you think God's holding that over your head? You know what I mean? He's not. He forgot already. You know what I mean? He knew you weren't going to do it in the first place. Really. So so there we go. So just don't be so hard on yourself. I think you said that, and that's a really tough thing. It's easier said than done, especially when you're serious about your fitness. But it's gold advice. Yep.
So, of course, now we're going to transition to diet, because you can't really talk about exercise and diet are like kissing cousins, right? They kind of go hand in hand. So for folks that are just kind of making those first steps in this journey, we got some practical tips on simple ways to start safely. What are some practical, simple first things that folks can do when it comes to trying to eat healthier?
I would say the most simple thing you can do, I don't care about how many calories you eat. I don't necessarily even care that, mean more macros, like more protein than carbs or anything like that. Eat more whole, nutrient-dense foods. If you shop on the outsides of the grocery store rather than the insides of the grocery store, I always, like, if I have a client that's trying to get into those things, I always say, if you look at your shopping cart, and most of it is from the outside edges of the store, you've done a good job. If you've got most of that stuff from the inside of the store, look at my face and put it back. You know what I mean? Like we don't want to start there. So like if you eat more nutrient dense whole type foods, you're going to have better body reaction to it. So our body can process those things better. It's going to be able to use those nutrients better. It's not going to have all the chemical imbalances and stuff like that start to get us off on the other tangent. So I would say that's the simplest thing to do. If you're not sure where to start, just start eating better whole food. Stop eating processed packaged type food. Not all of it. I do as well, but like limit it as much as you can. That's where I would start initially.
So when you say, can you be more specific when you talk about those nutrient-dense whole foods?
Okay.
For folks that might be a little gray on that.
Okay, understood. And I would say if you're going to go nutrient dense, I'm going to say something like lettuce is just water, right? So it is green, and it's vegetables, but it's like there's no nutrients that come out of there versus something like a sweet potato that is really high on the glycemic index or anything. But what you have is you have a bunch of nutrients in that one specific food that are going to feed to your body. Like, okay, so to me, it's the difference between reading a spiritual book and reading a Bible. You know, like the Bible's going to give you the real information. You might get close with the spiritual book because it probably has some hints of that in there, but there's only one real place to get it from. And you have to draw as much as you can from that source to be valid. And that's how I would say. So nutrient dense to me means if you can find like a label or find the categories on the back of like the packaging of it, and there's words you can understand and you actually know what they are, that's a nutrient dense type of product. So if there's a bunch of words that you can't pronounce or that look like they're made up, that's probably not very nutrient dense. That's synthetic type of stuff that we're looking at.
I laugh because, as a side note, my daughter had some sauerkraut today, and she looked at the back. She said, "Cabbage, water, and salt." Yeah, you know what all that is, right?
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, that's so simple. Yeah, that's sauerkraut." So,
That's it.
okay.
Yeah.
So for those folks that are, because if you're making a shift, sometimes your taste buds have to make that transition, right? And that can be a tough transition. I'm
It's
going to ask you
very
the
hard.
same question too. What are your suggestions to folks as they're, how to make that transition?
Eat as different as you can. Try new things. Like I was the type of person, and I think the military did for this, I will eat anything once. Like if you put it in front of me, I'm gonna try it. It might not look right, but it's like go different, like make it a variety of things. Like my favorite, when I really fell into like trying to get good nutrient dense stuff, I lived on Tex-Mex for months because beans, all the different vegetables, like there's so much flavor in that. So if you're looking for flavor and things like that, like get creative in cookbooks. You can go to Kroger or any of those stores right now and find a book that has $5 kind of meals in there. It doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to break the bank. You can do simple one-pan meals. Those are some of my favorite recipes, like because we're all active and we're all moving and nobody has time to spend 2 hours cooking unless, you know what I mean? Unless you do. I necessarily don't. So I want something that I can do in 10 minutes in a pan because that's realistic for me. But it needs to be good whole nutrients. So that's where I would start that.
What are your thoughts, Jay?
Can you ask that question again?
Yep,
Just to make
absolutely.
sure.
For those folks that are just starting
Yes,
with
that's
healthy
right.
eating, what's a good place to start?
I like Craig's answer of of eating more nutrient based food. I am not a vegetarian either, but I don't eat red meat or pork. Maybe it's just a workout thing. I don't know, but I do eat certain things, and it's just like I remember talking to a doctor about this before, and he was saying eat more vegetables and fruit, in the sense of eating it during the time that it is in season, because that is also what our body is telling us, because we're used to that, and our body is made for that. But also too, try not to cook it so much where you lose all the nutrients just out of.
Fair, you boil it
And
up.
so I am also advocate also trying to cook. I mean, I know that you were saying like it's you do need time to cook, but there is going to be days if you are going to eat out. It's understanding what you can eat out. The grocery store example is great for if you're cooking. Try to stay outside, so trying to stay in the middle. But if you're going to like out to eat, like for McDonald's, because it seems like everybody goes to McDonald's. I don't, but that's just me. But it's looking at the menu and to say what is different that I could eat that is a little bit healthier. What can I not eat? Can I not get the fries, but do they have something else for that? Or just looking at different things as like, can I go to Chipotle because it's a little bit more healthier for you? It's still not the greatest because there's a lot of salt and sodium and stuff that they have to do to keep that food preserved. But it's like it's better than going to McDonald's. Or can I go to Panera and get something cheaper there? Or if I do go to a restaurant, do I make sure I do get the salad and eat that first? It will help me not eat as much of the main course meal of the red meat and everything, but also it helps you digest that better too. So yeah, the simple thing is just the mindset of thinking of it, of looking at food. So the best way I'll put it this way, kind of get the story around the story, is that I would say that you're not a good cook if you can't cook for people outside your house.
Okay.
Because people are so used to eating what they're in their house. The same thing like that. It's like, I remember telling somebody this. They was like, yeah, I understand that because I thought rolls were supposed to be burnt to eat them. Because that's how their mom made them all the time. Exactly. If you don't know the other way, it's like, that's what you know. That's what you think. But if in taste and stuff, if you only eating what you've been brought up on and haven't tried different things, like you're saying, you won't understand what that tastes like. And to the point that somebody's told me before, like, well, why don't you miss meat? I'm like, I've been away from meat for so long. Like, the smell of it, it's even kind of offsetting to me now. Yeah. And even if I go back to it, that's now going to taste weird to me compared to what I eat now.
Or I can't eat as much.
Yeah.
I'll notice, like, even fried chicken. I love fried chicken, but if I eat more than a couple pieces, like the grease and things like that.
You start feeling, yeah.
And have you noticed it always smells better than it tastes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the olfactory system is such oh my gosh, such a tempting thing. And then you actually taste and it's like, this is not as good as it was in my mind.
But doesn't that really speak to like what it really is? It speaks to your physical, but not to your spiritual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, it doesn't do anything for your body, but it does everything for what's outside your senses. Like Kroger next to at 12 o'clock, I walk outside, and every day I'm like, please don't do this to me.
And the aroma of chicken is wafting in the air, and you can smell the grease, and it smells so good.
Run smelling fried chicken. What is this? So,
yes. So the other thing I also hear you saying, Jaquan, and you as well, Craig, is you have to live life. And so realizing that there are going to be times when you're going to be out and about and have busy times, and being smart about that, and maybe even considering planning ahead if you can, knowing sometimes you may not be able to, but planning food, planning your meals.
Yeah.
Cooking is healthier, but it's also cheaper.
Yeah. I'm not saying meal prep either. I think that is a great way of doing something is meal prep. But if you don't really know what that is and how much money really goes into that, because you have to buy a bulk of stuff and everything else, it does cost a lot. So it's like, I do save some, but at the same time, if I don't have that money up front, because sometimes going out to eat or going to McDonald's is a quick thing to get something that's cheap and everything else. Right. It's easy. But it's understanding, like, yes, don't beat yourself up. Craig was saying, like, also too, like, preparing yourself and like you're gonna have these things around you as a dinner and everything else. Like, yeah, if you know these things gonna happen, like, kind of understand. Like, I'm not saying miss meals. I'm just saying, like, if you know that Thanksgiving's coming up, which it is, and you know you're gonna have some cake and some pies and stuff, how about that week that you're getting up to it not to have any cakes and pies? Just like, okay, I'm not gonna eat no cake because I'm saving that for that day that I'm actually
abstaining or being really health conscious with your eating because you're gonna have a splurge. Yeah. So building in for the splurge.
I can't comply with that.
So do either of you ever do any fasting?
Yes. At times.
And when and under what circumstances? Now, and let me just clarify. Fasting, of course, I grew up, fasting was always a spiritual thing specifically, right? We fasted. But then when I kind of got into this health world, I learned that people actually fasted. People would fast for for health reasons. And so what when I was, going through my own weight loss journey, what I found is Saturdays were crazy busy for me. And so I just didn't have time to eat. And Sundays, we were busy with church. And so I just naturally had significant caloric restrictions on those days. And what I found was like, it kind of helped me to get over my weight plateau. I wasn't trying it, but I was like, oh, I kind of stumbled into something.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so when I say fasting, I mean fasting, not in the spiritual sense, fasting for health reasons. Do you guys do that?
Yes, I do. It's not an always thing. It's one of the things that sometimes it's because it's Lent, sometimes it's because I'm going through something and I need to think about that, or I'm training for something and I have to make sure I don't eat certain things, like training for a marathon or training for some kind of run, because I know that certain things like a sugar would give me a rush, but it also would knock me down, but I get sluggish later on and stuff. So it's like I gotta stay away from sugar for a while until I get this run over with. And which is like, well, how do you do all that? Well, you have to read labels. I mean, you were saying your daughter read labels. I mean, with my daughter, we found out that she's allergic to a lot of things. So now we really have to pay attention to labels and stuff. But yeah, like fasting, you talk about the spiritual side of it too, and I think that some people miss that. That's one of the things that I always cringe when people, not cringe, but when people talk about fasting, we're talking about eating fasting, which is one thing of like, I would say like there are different diet plans for fasting, like the Daniel plan and whatever. But it's also times that some people are like, well, I'm gonna stop eating at 10 at night and I won't eat again until 10 in the morning.
That intermittent
the
fasting.
intermittent fasting, which I definitely agree with something like that. And then the ones I don't agree with are people's like, well, I'm gonna fast for a whole day and I'm not gonna eat anything. I'm like, if you're gonna be working out, you're gonna need something. Like you can't just go on empty fumes. Like that's not gonna work for you. But yes, those different fastings are good in the sense of like, what are you trying to plan for? Like you said, you figured out there's some things that get you over that hump if you are trying to lose weight, or if, like for me, if I'm training for something, understanding that I have to stop doing certain things.
Right.
I can't say that I fast for any kind of exercise or nutritional persons. I do fast, but again, it's spiritually. And I guess in a professional kind of platform, I talk to many people that I work with actually that do fast and things like that. And this is always my advice on that. Not good, bad, or ugly, because everybody has their own way of doing things. Everybody is different. Everybody's body's going to respond differently. But when we're talking about fasting, my main concern is that people are focused on what is sustainable rather than what is temporary. Right, so the fasting I think is good for, like you said, to get you through a plateau. Like, hey, I'm having a problem losing this extra 5 pounds. I don't think a fast should be something that we start with. I think a fast is something that we should brush up with or finish with. In that case, so if we were fasting and we're kind of playing with, what you're really doing is you're playing with your metabolism. You're telling your body when to burn calories, when not to burn calories. Then you're going to go to a different diet like keto or something like that. So my advice is it wouldn't be just about fasting. It would be about anything that you're going to do. If you're going to incorporate some kind of, and I'm not going to call them fad diets, or you can tell I have kind of a thing about it, but I'm not going to say anything bad about it, but if you're going to do something like that, read up about it, understand why keto came about. It wasn't because protein was good for building muscle. It was because of medical issues that came across and people weren't able to produce certain chemicals in their body. So then eating like a carnivore diet would help them. So somebody found that just eating that carnivore diet helped me do this, but that's only for a short term. What about the greens that you need? What about the other things that we were talking about, nutrient dense kind of foods that your body's going to like, say, lack iron, things like that. And especially as we're getting older, all the chemical changes that are going through our bodies, the last thing we need to do is induce something else that's going to add to that kind of stress, things like that. So I would be very careful with it. Read up, and before you start it and kind of maintain it, talk to somebody in a professional platform to like say, hey, is this good for me? What do you think about this? And like, don't be mad at the advice you don't like. If you don't like it, bounce it off a couple of different people. If you keep on getting the same advice, there's your clue. But,
There you go.
it's yeah, that's what I would say about fasting. I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's something we should stay away from, but I think it's just something we should know. We should be educated about before we try to do it. It's not something that we should just take for granted.
So as we are fastly approaching Thanksgiving, we're talking about a time where folks are kind of getting off their schedules, and then we've got daylight savings that's happened, so it's darker earlier. Folks tend to be a little more sedentary. What's last words for folks to be able to get through the holidays, to be able to stick with that healthy plan? And these will be our last words, and you guys will take us out.
Okay. Okay, sure. So what I would say is let's together be conscious. Find a partner. Find somebody you could stick it into. Like, fitness is always better when it's shared. I did this alone for such a long part, and it's just now within the recent last couple of years that I've started to actually share. And my fitness levels have inclined, and like just my love for general fitness has like just took off greatly. So I would say find a partner, get some accountability with that partner, and then hold each other accountable to that. Like, it's in love. It's like iron sharpens iron. You know what I mean? And that's what we want to go back onto. And it's like we're in this platform where we're helping each other spiritually. Let's take that to a physical platform as well, and then we become whole. Like, the body is the body, but it has to be a functioning body as well. You know, we can't move if we can't walk. You know what I mean? So we've got to be able to get those things. So I would just challenge somebody, if it's your partner, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, find somebody, make kind of a commitment to them. Like, hey, for the next couple of months, this is what I'm going to do. Even if they're not going to do it with you, if somebody else knows your goals, and my challenge is pick somebody you know is going to hold you accountable. You know what I mean? Like, I thought you was, you know what I mean? Pick that person, because that's what's going to keep you on track. Like, that kind of accountability. Like, don't just leave it on yourself. Don't depend on yourself. Use the tools you have around you, professionals, people that you can talk to. I would say that's how I would end.
Okay, Jaquan.
Yes. We mentioned the word a lot today, and that's grace. Just give yourself grace. Like, the quote of the week that I'm giving people is, not every day is going to be a good day, but there is good in every day. And just understand that there's going to be some good in every day, even if it's a bad day for you. There's some kind of good. Craig talked about two truths and a lie. Like, there's some truth in that. So just give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up too much.
I want to thank you guys so much. This is Minister Jaquan Ball and Craig Johnson. Thank you guys for joining us for Earth, Heaven, and Beyond. I'm Rhonda Jackson Smith. See you guys next week. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. I love the opportunity.
With my mouth